Hello guys! In this video I would like to talk to you about the tricky cases of using the English verb tenses. You have probably noticed that we have started a series of live broadcasts in which I am teaching you different aspects of English vocabulary and grammar. If you haven't noticed, I think it's the high time you did that. You can find our regular live sessions. Please join in, ask questions, be active and learn with me. But this video, it's a small addition to those lessons because in the general common lessons I'm telling you about the rules about how to use English grammar and how to use the English vocabulary. But today we will talk about some smaller things which are not included into the main rule. And sometimes they are called, in grammar books, sometimes they are called bad rules. Meaning that, wow, we have already made a clear rule and then suddenly something doesn't fit in. Yes, something looks different. These are small cases where the tenses are used not in a very usual way, but they are important because native speakers use them a lot and you need to know them and you need to use them correctly in your own speaking too. I will give you several phrases. I will tell you how to use the verb tenses in these particular situations, and you can call it advanced points about the English verb tenses. You could just call them tricky, as I have called them, because they are a little bit different from the general rule. Let's start, and the first group of the structures will be telling us about the untypical usage of the present simple tense. Present simple, as you've probably heard from me or learned from other sources, present simple describes the situations in general. It is usually not describing something in particular, any kind of particular action which you can watch right now, which you can describe right now, any kind of one action. It normally tells us about the general situation. But look how different it can be in those structures. The first thing, when you are describing recipes and when you are telling us about the sports events, you will use present simple actions even if they are physical and even if you can watch them happening. Normally, for example, imagine I am shooting a video telling you about cooking, telling you how to cook this dish. You are watching me, you see what I'm doing, and it seems logical, according to the rule, to use present continuous here because this is particular actions which you can watch. But no, when you describe a recipe for cooking, you normally use verbs in present simple. Or you can call them imperative forms, it doesn't matter. You can say you take 3 eggs, you put them into a bowl, for example, or just take 3 eggs and so on and so on. The whole line of events, you don't use past, you don't use present continuous in this context. And the same way, if you are a sports fan, if you watch sports on TV, imagine that it's football. I actually don't know much about football, so correct me if I'm wrong. Even though the person, the speaker, the radio broadcaster or the video presenter sees the players running, on the pitch, for example, at this very moment, even though, again, according to the rule, it seems logical to use present continuous here, this is not what they normally do. And if you listen to Eurosport or BBC sports broadcasts, you will notice that they will be using present simple to describe what's going on the field. For example, Ronaldo goes across the pitch. Yes, I see it now. I see him, but it should be present simple. Remember it as this one small thing. Okay, when you describe a line of events or give instructions to somebody or describe some kind of the fast event, it's normal to use present simple here. I hope you remember that now. We are going on. The next thing, when you have some situation when something is arriving to you or something is leaving you. And these are set expressions. You don't change these sentences. Here comes, imagine that we are standing on the bus stop and the bus is approaching. And again, it's more logical to use present continuous. The bus is approaching. If you are using a normal sentence to describe the action, the bus is coming in the direct word order, yes, you will be using present continuous. But if you start the sentence with here, you need to use this form comes. It's just a set expression. Please just accept it, okay? Here comes the bus. Let's go. And the same way, there goes. You can understand it's in the opposite direction, and we use it when, for example, we are late. We were late for the bus. We are running to the bus stop, but we only see the back of the bus leaving. In this case, I will say, there goes our bus. We are late. And again, you see, it's hard to explain why, but it is the present simple form. Please remember about that if you need to use such structures. And yes, the first and the second situation, they are minor ones, they are quite small ones. And the third one is very much used in speaking. When you are describing and retelling some information you heard or you learned from somebody. For example, well, somebody told you that your friend was getting married. And here, there is this small thing. If you start retelling somebody about it, reporting, it's called reporting, when you are tell somebody's words to someone else. You need to connect the tenses together. And it's called reported speech, indirect speech. And the trick is, if you start the sentence with I heard, you need to coordinate all other grammar forms in the sentence. Yeah? For example, somebody is telling you, I am quoting direct speech. Jane is getting married. And when you are retelling it, you are doing it like, I heard Jane was getting married. You need to make this grammar transformation. And if you've been learning English for a while, you probably know about this rule. It's a tricky rule. Nobody likes the rule of the reported speech. From my point of view, it's one of the most broken rules in English grammar. And in this case, it's tricky. You could make a mistake. And in speaking, there is a tradition not to use these reporting structures in the past to avoid the grammar transformation. That's why, even if you heard about it before, you can say, I hear, not I heard. I hear Jane is getting married. You see, there is no problem for me. I don't need to transform the structure, right? I will say, I hear Jane is getting married. It can be translated by the past form into your own language, but for English, it sounds okay to be in present. I see they are building a new swimming pool nearby. Not I saw they were building. You understand? It's tricky, yeah? I see they are building. Or for example, I understand they are moving. Not I understood from that conversation. I understand they are moving. It's a normal practice. When you want to tell about something, but you don't have a direct referrer. Yeah, you will just say, they say, or for example, she says. Yes, I know you will want to start the sentence with she said, but this will mean grammar trouble, and nobody wants grammar trouble with the reported speech, believe me. In this case, just remember that even if you mean that it has happened before, you can start your sentences with these particular phrases in the present tense. You can say, I hear, I see, I understand, and she says, for example, he says, they say. And this is making your life very much easier. And we will continue with more tricky cases like this in the next part of the video. And now let's discuss the tricky cases connected to the usage of English verb tenses when we mix up present and past, where the situations where we would normally use present tenses, but sometimes instead of them, the native speakers use the past here. And I receive a lot of questions about that from my students. That's why I wanted to tell you about it. This is very important. In letters and different documents, for example, different communications, yeah, you could sometimes see the phrase I just wanted to. It's used in speaking too. When you are asking a question, for example, I wanted to ask you about your plans, for example, yeah? And it's clear that you want it now. You are talking about the present situation. Why would you use past here? The answer is to be polite. If you want to sound polite, the verb want is often considered to be a bit rude, a bit too direct when it is used in present. When you say I want, they don't like it, right? They prefer I would like, if you make a request or something like that. That's why if you want to use this want, that's a funny sounding phrase, if you want to use this want in the sentence, and if you are communicating with the person socially, it will be considered polite to use the past tense. For example, yeah, you are a student talking to a professor. I just wanted to ask for an extension. Not I want, but I wanted. And even just, again, will add a little bit more humility if you really need that result, yeah? Try to be polite. I just wanted to ask you for an extension. I wanted to ask you about the raise. If you are talking to your boss and you want to receive more money, I wanted to talk to you about something when you start maybe some hard conversation. And even more polite is to use this polite formula. I wondered means asking. It's like I am interested, this type of meaning, but it's used for indirect asking about something. You can just ask a direct question, when are you leaving? Or you can ask politely, I wondered when you were leaving, for example, yeah? So here you will add your question turned into an indirect form. I wondered if you could. For example, can you do that for me? I wondered if you could do that for me. And you see, again, I am using this wondered, not I wonder. I wonder where he is. Yeah, that's normal informal communication. You're asking a question. I wonder where he is. But here, I wondered, you are asking this question politely, and this is very important. Let's go on. Which you ask about some finished actions. And I told you that the rule is you use for one-time actions, not in stories, not in narratives, not when you are giving a lot of actions at the same time. For one-time actions, you use past simple when you give the date of doing that. For example, I did that yesterday. And you use present perfect if you don't give the time point. I have done it. Have you done it? Yes, I have done it. Did you do it yesterday? Yes, I did it yesterday. That is the main difference, because in many cases we can't feel the difference between past simple and present perfect. But in this particular case, you will use the time marker to give you a hint, to give yourself a hint that you are using past simple. But when you are asking about the subject of some action, you will always use past simple. For example, we look at something, okay? Something has been ruined, something has been broken, and I want to ask you questions about the details. The situation is like that. Somebody has broken something. It's obviously the situation of present perfect because there is no time point. Somebody has broken something down. But I'm asking who did that. Not who has done that, but who did that. Asking the question about the subject for the completed action, who completed this action, you will always use past simple, even if you don't know when it was done. I hope it's clear. It's such a small minor case, and if you listen to native speakers, communicate, you will probably notice that. And one more set expression when you are talking about a surprise, about something which is different from what you expected. And here you will have a set phrase, "than I thought." For example, you are older than I thought. It's harder than I thought. You are talking about some previous expectations which didn't turn out to be true. You are older than I thought. You are more good looking than I expected. You can use other verbs here, just the structure should always be the same. It takes longer time than we planned. It's a more complex example, but still the principle is like that. Then I plus the verb in past simple. If the situation is different from what you thought of it before. I hope it's clear. I know it's a little bit tricky because these are not actually rules, it's just the tradition of usage. And for that, you really need to watch how native speakers do that. And don't forget about this incoming English, which you need to have every day, the input to watch the films, to read the books, especially to read the literature books, not professional literature, to find all this diversity of the language, how native speakers use it. I hope it helps, and in the next part of the video, we will talk about tricky cases of using present perfect. Okay, and we continue talking about the tricky cases in the usage of English verb tenses, and in this part of the video we will talk about the sudden appearance of present perfect. Sometimes present perfect can be used in the structures which seem unnatural to us, and if you don't have anything similar in your own language, this could be a little bit tricky. Let's work with that. When you're talking about the times meaning your first, second, third experience of something. For example, you want to say, I am here for the first time. This is the first time for me here. Normally, we will start the phrase with the set expression. This is the first time, instead of you doing some kind of the action. Because you want to put this accent on your experience, not on the action, you will start the sentence with this. And what happens after that? You use the yourself right now. This is the first time I, and you will add present perfect form here. For example, this is the first time I've visited Europe. And it sounds strange. You are still in Europe. Yes, I'm in Europe for first time, for example, yeah? And it's not perfect continuous. It's not present. You need to use the present perfect here because you are talking about your experience. I know it's hard to accept. I know, because I have seen the confusion on my students' faces. I have been seeing it for years, but still you just need to remember it as a set expression. This is the first time I have done this. Not I have been doing, not I am doing, not I do it first time. No. This is the second time I fainted, for example. Yes, I lost consciousness or something like that. This is the first time I've heard that. If it's new information for you, you are hearing it for the first time. This sentence, I'm hearing it first time, it's absolutely unnatural. This is the first time I've heard of that. And if you are describing some kind of the past experience, it was the first time, the structure will stay the same, but you need to coordinate that, and instead of present perfect, you will use the past perfect. It was the first time I had seen her. It was the first time I had spoken English to a real person, yes, something like that. You are changing the verb here and you are making it coordinated here. And yes, remember about that when you start making your sentence, because if you are already in the middle of the sentence, it's too late to go back and to change it, yeah? This is the first time I've told about that. This is the first time I've done it. And also, if you want to again emphasize that you haven't done something for a while. For example, I haven't spoken English for a while. And for you, the most important part of this sentence is actually for a long time. Yeah, for a while, meaning for a long time. If you say it in the direct order, I haven't spoken English for a long time, it's absolutely neutral. You want to change the order of the sentence, okay, the word order, to put the accent on this long time. And you will say, this will sound natural in English, you will say, it has been a long time since I spoke English. Because after since, we usually use past simple. It's been a long time since I last spoke English, yeah? Compare them. I haven't spoken English for a long time. Neutral. It's been a long time since I last spoke English. This is an emphatic structure. This is a more emotional structure. And you put more accent on this time instead of speaking. Because in the English sentence, I hope you know this main rule, the most important information goes to the beginning of the sentence. Okay, you start with the most important stuff and then add additional details. And the last one, well, it actually will be quite easy because it kind of fits into the rule. When you are talking about some very good experience, well, this is the best food I have ever eaten in my life. Again, you have this two-element structure. It's the best something I have ever plus the verb. It is the best experience I have ever had. It is the most useful lesson I have ever watched. It is the hardest grammar I have ever explained. Okay, I want to put the accent, I want to make it emotional, and for that I will need this structure with two elements in it. Here you have the superlative form plus the present perfect, emphasizing your experience. I hope it's clear now. Yes, it's advanced stuff. Yes, it is not that easy to catch if you are still a beginner, and if you've been digging through the English tenses for a while, I am sure you have noticed these strange examples which didn't fit into the complete picture, and I hope I have helped you with that. If you like the lesson, please give us the thumb up and share it with your friends, and thank you very much for watching.